Traveling in a car is typically a stressful experience for rabbits. The vehicle vibrations, along with the strange sights and scents, make it quite terrifying. This implies that traveling with a rabbit, particularly over long distances, can be difficult and unpleasant. If you don't plan ahead of time and take measures, your rabbit might become ill as a result of the stress. But don't worry. That is why you have arrived. You may take your rabbit for a vehicle journey while reducing the amount of stress they feel if you plan ahead of time. You can keep your rabbit quiet and comfortable on your journey if you follow these guidelines. Make a plan ahead of time. If you are going on a long car trip with your rabbit, the worst thing you can do is go in without a plan. Rabbits can get seriously ill from the stress of a car ride. It can cause them to go into GI stasis, a condition that affects the rabbit's digestive system and subsequently causes their body to begin to shut down. By planning ahead, you can be prepared with a safe carrier for your rabbit. You'll know where to stop along the way to help your rabbit de-stress and remain comfortable. You can also make plans for possible emergency situations. You'll have supplies ready if your car shuts down and you're stuck on the side of the road, and you'll have emergency supplies ready just in case your rabbit starts to get sick. Get an appropriate carrier for your rabbit. When choosing a carrier for your rabbit, you want to find one that is the correct size. A carrier that is too large is not good because it's easier for the rabbit to get injured in the event of a car crash or sudden stop if they are thrown against the side of the carrier. On the other hand, you don't want the carrier to be so small that your rabbit is uncomfortable. A correctly sized carrier will give your rabbit enough room to turn around inside and lay down along the length of the carrier. Typically, small cat carriers, about 19 long, are a good size for rabbits, but if you have a large rabbit or multiple rabbits together, you may want to get a size up. When prepping the carrier for travel, you want to make sure your rabbit has a soft footing available. Slippery plastic floors of carriers are not good for rabbit feet and can cause added stress during travel. Place a towel along the bottom of the carrier to give your rabbit some traction. If possible, you also want to allow your rabbit to go into the carrier on its own on the day of travel. Being held and forced into a small space can be frightening for rabbits, and would end up starting the day off on the wrong foot. To encourage your rabbit to go in on their own, try luring them with a treat. You can also leave the carrier with the rabbit for a few days before travel, so they will already be used to it and may already be using it as a hiding house. The safest carriers. Most pet carriers have not been crash tested. If you get into a serious car accident, they will typically offer very little protection to your rabbit. While there are ways of securing a carrier in a car to make it safer, there are only a couple of brands of carriers that have put the effort in to make them safe for car travel. Put together an emergency travel kit. Before going for that long car ride, you want to make sure you have emergency supplies available. These are the items that will be useful if your rabbit gets sick, or if you find yourself in the unfortunate situation of having the car break down. This means you want to include medical supplies but also think about having extra days worth of food, hay, and water for your rabbit. Emergency packing list. A box of hay. A few days worth of pellets. Extra bottled water. Fresh leafy greens. Critical care. Gas drops. A heating pad. A cooler with an ice pack, in summer. Pack an enclosure and supplies. In addition to emergency supplies, you also want to make sure you have the supplies for your rabbit when you reach your destination or stay in hotels along the way. These supplies will make sure your rabbit has everything they would normally need in their day-to-day life and will make sure they are not destructive in their temporary living spaces. Rabbit supplies packing list. An enclosure, an exercise pen is easy to transport and set up. A litter box and supplies, pooper scooper, litter, etc. Food and water bowls. A variety of toys. Offer extra water. One concern for rabbits on car trips is the potential for dehydration. Most rabbits will not want to eat or drink while on car trips, but you still want to find ways to give them the option to drink when you take breaks along the way. One way to do this is to attach a pet water bottle to the side of their carrier. The problem I've found with this is that most water bottles will leak with the vibration of the car, and you don't want your rabbit sitting on a wet towel the whole trip. You will have to do some experimenting to find a water bottle design that doesn't leak. The other option is to make sure that you offer your rabbit a bowl of water whenever you take a stop. Bring extra water with you along and pour it into a little water bowl. Offer it to your rabbit to decide if they're thirsty or not. Secure the carrier in the car. If you have one of the two safety tested carriers mentioned earlier, then the safest place to put your rabbit's carrier is in the back seat. In the front passenger seat, the airbags run the risk of denting the carrier and injuring your rabbit. If you don't have one of these carriers, Both the ADAC and the Center for Pet Safety advise putting the carrier lengthwise on the floor in the back of the passenger or driver's seat. They found this position safest because most pet carriers are not made to withstand the force of a car crash. When tested, the pets, not real, were thrown straight through the plastic side and the door of the carriers. The carriers also tended to be crushed by the use of seat belts, making them unsafe. By placing the carrier on the floor tucked between the front and back seats, the initial impact is reduced and absorbed by the surrounding seats. The dummy pet in the carrier did not sustain any major injuries. Since there are typically more vibrations on the floor compared to up on the seat of a car, it can be helpful to place a folded towel on the ground underneath the carrier. This can absorb some of the vibrations and make the ride less stressful for your rabbit. Keep the car cool. Because of their fur coats, rabbits can easily become overheated. This means there is an increased risk of your rabbit developing heat stroke since cars tend to collect heat even in mild weather. To prevent this, you'll want to make sure you keep the car cool for your rabbit at all times. It's better if you can use the AC and not rely on open windows, since the many foreign sounds from outside can potentially be frightening for rabbits. However, you also don't want to point the vents directly onto your rabbit, since that may cause respiratory issues. Instead, direct the air vents upward to allow circulation of the air throughout the vehicle. Since rabbits can overheat so easily, you also want to avoid placing them in direct sunlight. Bring another towel along to cover the top of the carrier if the sunlight is too strong. Cold is not so much of a problem for rabbits. In the winter, just be sure to keep the car a little cooler than you normally would, so your rabbit can stay comfortable. Avoid loud music and radio. Rabbits can also be stressed out by a lot of loud noises in the car. While some car and outside noises are unavoidable, you can at least control the music and radio inside the car. At the very basic level, you want to avoid putting music on at loud volumes. To take it even further, however, you can avoid music altogether or only play calm classical music. An audiobook or podcast can also be a good option to help you pass the time without scaring your rabbit. Keep fresh greens available. Since it is vitally important to get your rabbit to eat as soon as possible, it's a good idea to bring fresh leafy greens along in a cooler. These are tasty and enticing for rabbits but also don't have too much of the sugars that sweet fruits and vegetables do, making them a healthy option. Every time you make a stop, pull some leafy greens out and offer them to your rabbit. It may take a few minutes before your rabbit decides to eat them, but it's a good sign that your rabbit is starting to de-stress when they finally take a nibble. If you are going on a long car trip, leafy greens can be vital for keeping your rabbit eating throughout the day. If you enjoyed this video, kindly press the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, so that you don't miss out on videos like this. Thank you for watching.